Like, go panhandle on the corner for like 5 minutes. People feel bad and they'll be like, oh, here's a couple bucks. You could buy a skin for like, probably a bad take, but you know. Why don't we watch the new Riot MMO video real quick?
This is a small segment from a 2-hour interview that I had with Greg. So if you want to watch the full interview, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you'll be notified when it drops. Also, I'm streaming live on Twitch 5 to 6 days a week, so visit me there. It's the best way to connect with me personally. And let's begin.
Yeah.
Say you make an MMO and you're like, hey, this MMO is PvP only because we think we can just make a better game if it's PvP. Well, you could probably guess there are going to be players that are like, well, I'm out. That's not me. Final Fantasy has a great like crafting game. It has a great social game. It lets you decorate your houses. So it serves players a lot of really different motivations.
Right. I don't know if you can answer this, but do you feel comfortable?
I like that he talked about the player housing and stuff. He even brought it up as a motivation in the game, and he's used that term motivation multiple times. We'll talk about the Riot MMO. I'm not going to say like I think we have player housing necessarily, but he's talked about it multiple times.
With the budget that you have for the Riot MMO?
Oh, that's actually a really interesting question. I think I can answer it. One of the nice things about Riot is we're not going to run out of money, right? I'm not going to have.
We're just going to watch the video and then we'll be right back into
hey, if
Frozen Flame.
You know, you got to ship by Christmas or we're canceled. Riot will cancel this game if the game isn't good enough. They're not going to cancel the game because it gets too expensive. And those go hand in hand. We could make a very expensive bad game and then I would get fired. Right. We could make a less expensive game that still really captures hearts and minds, but it's not a blank check, right? Like I have to prove, and the team has to prove that whatever Riot is putting into it is worth it, because you know, they could spend the money somewhere else. They could make a different game. They could double down on Valorant or something. So it's definitely not a blank check, but it's also not like we're not a startup where, oh gosh, we're out of money. What are we going to do? You know, I can always go back and ask for more. Whether or not I get more is going to depend a lot on what they think how does the game look? What do playtesters say? How are we doing, about hitting our milestones? So that is how, I mean, in the very simplest sense, you can think of it as you get some money. If you spend it well, they're going to give you more. If you don't spend it well, you're probably done. And in our case, rather than shipping the bad game, it would just get shit canned.
That's awesome. But I think that distinction, I think.
Ghostcrawler's words, if we make a bad game, it's going to get shit canned.
I think is massive. Not only from your perspective, but especially from the consumer's perspective. Like just knowing that, hey, this MMO that's coming out, it's like money isn't the issue. They'll cancel it if it's not good. So like even that, like just that notion, it's like if this MMO were to be canceled, I would be devastated. I'd be really disappointed. I think everyone in the MMO world would be, the MMO community would be pretty devastated that it got canceled. But at the same token, I think it would bring another level of respect and be like, hey man, at the end of the day, it wasn't a money thing. It just wasn't good enough. They just, maybe they'll revisit it later. You know, like I would have a lot of respect for a company that would cancel a game because of that, rather than the actual money that's going into it. That's really, Yeah,
I completely agree. The disappointment from players, and I understand there'd be disappointment.
It is a good point.
I'd be disappointed. That's coming from, oh, I had such high hopes for this game, and I'm disappointed that it didn't get there. And they don't want a bad game. They don't want us to like ship the game no matter what. They want a good game, and that's if we can't deliver a good game, what are we doing?
Absolutely, absolutely. So one of the things that the game does need to do is it needs to generate revenue. Okay, so I'd love to get your thoughts on the differences between, from your perspective as the guy that needs to generate the revenue. Love to hear your thoughts on a sub-based model versus a free-to-play model.
If he answers this question, I am very much looking forward to the full 2-hour interview. I can make a whole stream off the 2-hour interview, and we'll do that next week. But this is big. Like, this is big that he's doing a full interview about the MMO with Canon. Like, I said we're going to get more information at the end of the year this year, and here it's starting. It's starting. Just hold me to it.
The truth is they're both viable. What you generally get in a sub-based model is fewer players because fewer players can afford it, but are a very steady revenue stream. So you might say, I would rather 1 million players who pay me $15 a month regularly than 5 million players who sometimes pay and sometimes don't. That's just, that's just the economics of it. So generally, if you want to go free to play, it's because you think you can have a lot of players and you'll be okay even if they don't individually spend a lot of money. You'll have a lot of players who spend nothing. You'll have some players who spend more, but on average, you're assuming they're not going to pay that much, and you make up for it with size. And you see that a lot of mobile games, not just mobile MMOs, but mobile games in general, assume that they don't have very long a lifespan, so they need to make money right away, big audience right away, because then people are gonna drop them and move on to the next thing. It's also interesting that in China, a little less so Korea, but still more so I think than in the West, the notion of pay for power is not as, it's almost repulsive to a lot of Western players, because they're like, it comes to them as like, well, that's not fair. Like, why should that person have better gear than me when they just spent money on it?
Right.
But at least to a Chinese mindset, sometimes they're thinking, well, I don't want to spend a lot of time grinding to get this item. Why can't I just pay you to get it right away?
Oh, don't make excuses for pay to win.
Let me skip to the good stuff. Particularly,
don't do it.
This was more true in both Korea and China when a lot of gamers had to play it at PC bongs or PC cafes, because then they're literally paying for the hour.
Right.
So rather than paying per hour to get 100 hours to get a sword, let me just buy the sword and skip all that stuff. So we're not going to do pay to win. We're not going to do pay to power. I'm pretty confident saying that.
Oh, thank God. Oh my God. Why did he talk about pay to win and pay to power for like 3 minutes? And then at the end he was, well, we're not going to do that, but I just wanted to talk about it for a second. You just beat the ice dude with a bow? Screw you, dude. Screw you.
The business
almost sold my gaming PC. Yeah, I was like, I'm done. I'm done.
I probably said that, or a lot of players that it's just not Riot's style.
Right.
We really want players to feel like they're welcome back in the game at any time. And yeah, if life is rough right now, and
that right there, though, that's big. When he says he wants players to feel like they're welcome back at any time. There's one other game that's ever done that properly, and it's Guild Wars 2. No sub fee. People can come and go as they please. He's said that multiple times in this interview too. He started it off when he was asked like, oh, what do you think about sub model and no sub model? And he's like, well, sub models are good. You can pay 15 people. You're going to have less people playing the game though. And then he's also said, I respect players' time. The game is not going to have a sub. I'm 99.9% sure. I will shave my head and get a face tattoo saying I'm an idiot if it has a sub model. It will not have a sub model. Hold me to it. Clip it and ship it, boys.
You're between jobs, or you just can't, you can't pay for the subscription. I'd rather them not churn out rather than be able to keep playing. So that's why Riot has traditionally liked free to play with purely cosmetic purchases. But again,
is that enough though? For an, because an
MMO,
MMO,
you cut him off.
Again,
He was going to say
I'm very
something.
ignorant to the game development and the budget side of things when it comes to MMO, but I would imagine that it's very expensive to maintain and run and create an MMORPG. Is it is it feasible? It's probably
the most expensive kind of game to make.
Right? I would think so. Is it feasible to have
close is like huge open world,
Right.
Horizon Zero Dawn, Assassin's Creed, Red Dead Redemption style. Those are also very expensive, but an MMO needs everything. It needs matchmaking. It needs a chat system. It needs a gear system. It just every system you can imagine. So yeah, they're
matchmaking, chat, gear confirmed.
If it's a super content heavy game, they're also very expensive to run.
Absolutely.
If it's a more PvP based game or a more sandbox game, it's less expensive to run because players are providing a.
He never said either was right. He said he just pointed out why some people like or don't like pay to win. It is important to see both sides of the story to make a better project. He did say that, but at the end, he did say too. He said, our game isn't going to be pay to win or pay to power. He did say that specifically. Of which I'll clip and I'll put in a video on YouTube at some point, but he did officially I mean, he said like, oh, I don't think we're gonna do it, or maybe he's like left it open ended, but he implied it very, very heavily.
A lot of the content.
Right, absolutely. Is it feasible for a large scale MMO, like a big budget MMO, to sustain with a free to play model that just monetizes off of cosmetics? Honestly, because like for me, I'm thinking like no. Like for me, on like technically, theoretically, yes. Obviously, if everyone is buying these costumes and stuff, yeah, sure. I know for a fact it would be, but like,
it's not just cosmetics though. You can do battle passes, which is starting to be more common in MMOs. You can have content updates that cost money as well. Patches, minor content patches that could be like $5 to explore, a new zone or something. There's other options.
Honestly, like realistically, I feel like the answer to that is no. What would you say?
No, we've done the math, and I think there is a world that
I'm sure they've done the math.
Like,
really,
you can have enough players who are willing to pay enough on cosmetics to fund a really big game.
Really, like how often would you expect, in order for that to work, how often would you expect to have to like release new cosmetics? Because obviously you can't release one new cosmetic a year to be able to, right? Like no one's gonna buy, right? That's not enough money.
And I also know from experience that players resent when they feel like you're spending too much development effort on cosmetics. Like to look at League of Legends.
Oh my God! Thank you for saying that. One sec.
Like you're spending too much development effort on cosmetics. Like
it's a balance, a little bit of everything, right?
To look at League of Legends, for example, if we stopped making champions and just kept making skins, at some point players are like, well, this kind of sucks. You're only focused on the money-making side of the game. So you need to do both. You need to make sure the game balance is good. You need to update everything that you can in order for players to feel good about it. So, yeah, again, we don't even know for sure exactly what our business model is going to be, but I've done the math enough to convince myself that if we said, yeah, can you launch a game with just cosmetics? Probably you can.
Okay, interesting. So obviously,
he just said so many good things right there. And like, he always goes back to like, oh, but we don't know. It's not for sure. But like, they've done the math. They've checked it out. They can survive on cosmetics. They can survive off of all of like, it's exactly what I thought it was going to be. I'm not, there's no surprise here. And I think that's a good thing because I'm happy with not being surprised. I don't want to be like, oh, also you can only upgrade your weapon if you spend $15 a month, like Ion or something. I would shoot myself in the head.
Obviously, you just
it's a joke. It's a joke. That was a joke. I wouldn't actually do that.
MMO goes, there's no confirmation. There's none of that. But for you personally, what do you, as a gamer, what do you personally prefer? Do you personally prefer to play a sub-to-play game or a free-to-play game that has cash shop? Has an in-game cash shop?
Yeah, the one thing that bothers me about a sub is kind of the guilt of I'm paying for this game and I'm not playing it right now.
Yeah.
And so for a game like World of Warcraft, I came back and played the last expansion. And then when I stopped playing, I felt like, well, the right thing to do is to cancel my subscription.
Right.
But then if I want to jump in and play one night, well, am I going to start my subscription up again? Like there's a little bit of friction there to really fitting in how I play. Whereas like if I want to play Valorant, I'll just pick up Valorant. If I want to put Valorant down for 6 months and pick it up again, great, I'll do that. Now, yeah, there are battle passes and things like that
battle passes. He said it. He said battle passes. There's going to be battle passes confirmed. I really think they're going to do battle passes. I really think it's going to be a thing. And I think there may be seasonal content as well. That's just my assumption, but I think charging for major content would actually be able to make up the differences and maybe it will be fine. Yeah, Guild Wars 2, I think their business model is actually really good. I think it's really good. There's no guilt. It feels good. And if you want to take a break, you can. You're not like, yeah. I think Guild Wars 2 pushes it a little bit. They push the boundaries with the cosmetics as far as they make really, really awesome ones and I want them, but they're like $8. Like go panhandle on the corner for like 5 minutes. People feel bad and they'll be like, oh, here's a couple bucks. You could buy a skin for like, probably a bad take, but you know, you could do it. It's not hard. Like, I don't know. It's gaming. It's not going to be free. It's a form of entertainment. I take my family to the movies. It's $50. Like, and that's for 2 hours. Like, I think we can handle and pay a little bit for a game.
But overall, I think that's the one flaw in the subscription model is as a player, you feel like the right thing to do is to turn it on and off all the time.
Right.
Is kind of a habit.
Right. What do you think about the games that are free to play but have like a subscription option where you get bonus stuff like extra loot drop percentage, extra experience?
I hate that.
A lot of games do that. Like BDO does.
I like the fact that you can log in, but
what do you think about that model?
I think as a player, I think that's pretty cool because it gives you the option to kind of pay how you want. If you're like, hey, I'm not ready to commit money to this game, awesome. But if you're like, no, I'm in, I know I'm going to spend lots and lots of hours in this game. I don't mind, spending a little more for a better experience. I think that's pretty cool. It is, again, like I said before, with the pay for power, it's a slippery slope, and you can easily turn off players if you're too heavy handed with that.
Slippery slope, easily turn off players, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's good. I liked it. I think that was a good preview. I am so excited. That was 5 minutes, right? 6 minutes? I can't wait until the 2 hour version. Like we're going to spend like a whole 5-6 hour stream on that.